Welcome back, Extra Jehovah's Witnesses, and to all those who are interested in knowing more about this organization of man. So in this video, I developed this theme called Top Secret Classifieds. And this is another edition of JW. Stop Lying. So sit back and relax, and we're going to quickly go through some slides about some of the big lies that I want to highlight from this organization as to why many of us continue to leave. Be careful though, because if you're watching and you're still a Jehovah's Witness, more than likely you're going to have all of these versions of cognitive dissonance enter into your mind. You know, like Jehovah, that hypnotizing word to keep you in line when it's not even his name. We'll touch that in a minute. The checkjw.org bias excuse, where you only want to view things from the standpoint of your governing body. You know, these imperfect dudes that claim to be infallible and inspired, although they say that we're not inspired, but then they tell you that you can only get truth through them, and they're put in place by the Messiah and who they'll call God. Nobody catch the contradictions when they speak, but when you brainwash, why would you? You're not looking for that. They can't be wrong, right? That's how cults work. We have the truth. It's funny because they actually have the lie. We're going to touch that. You'll be like, I'm anointed. More than likely you're not, if you really know how that works. We'll touch that. You're apostate, which is the excuse they use whenever you expose these men of having dealings with Satan. So they'll be like, no, you are satanic. You, the devil's got your mind. You're an apostate. So they speak abusively of you verbally. They insult you. They persecute you. When they insult you with words, and so forth. So we'll touch that. Ooh, my favorite, I'm going to tell the elders, when you start to speak some truth, everybody turn their back on you. Now you in the back room getting some counsel because you was like, this don't match the Bible though. So they'd be like, well, you don't believe in the Bible then because you're questioning us. I'm like, y'all not in the Bible, but you know how that goes, the ego complex. And they'd be like shunning his 11 provision. And they use the prodigal son, even though the prodigal son has zero things to do with shunning. It's actually the opposite. Father forgave him on account of his worldly sadness, they would have called it, because he ran out of resources. You would still be shunned if you was a witness, if that was the case. Whole nother story. And then the light gets brighter every time you get caught telling lies, false prophecies, false doomsday dates. Then they keep revising it, changing it around. Well, this wasn't the end of the world, it was the end of the Gentile times. Or this wasn't that, this was this. And the light got brighter. Like, it's amazing the lies they come up with and people still buying it. Like by 2020, you still buying this. I'm sorry. It's just like really no hope if you still haven't snapped out of it by now. But only time can tell. We hope that you get out. So let's get right into it, guys. So we'll throw them up there and we'll just give you the scripture. So you're shunned. If anybody knows what shunning is when they give you the eternal cutoff, unless you come back into their frame of thinking. They would straight up shun you. Shunning is this fellowshipping. It's when they cut you off, like literally cut you off. Family members can't talk to you. Sisters, cousins, mates to a certain degree, they can't talk to you. If you're a kid, you get put out the house. Like they straight cut you off and treat you as if you're dead because you no longer agree with them dudes that's, in the governing body, these men. But so they take vengeance into their own hands and they punish you according to what they think that you did. But what does the scripture say in that regard? Romans 12:19. Beloved, never avenge yourself, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says, let's say the Lord there, right? So with that being said, here you have Elohim, right? I don't like using the terms God and Lord, whole nother story, but for the argument's sake, we'll resonate with ways you can understand for now. But so basically Elohim is saying, right, you don't avenge yourselves because it's not you that's being wrong, it is me. I'm the one that gets the vengeance, and that's to come in his day in regards to mankind. And on top of that, it says that I repay. So according to sins, who repays for it? Exactly, Elohim does. But that's not what these religions do, especially Jehovah's Witnesses. They be like, no. I'm going to put myself in that godlike position of headship. I'm going to punish you as if you wronged me, and I'm going to make the verdict, and I'm going to give you this through shunning. What is shunning? A punishment. It's discipline by men who are overstepping their boundaries as if they're Elohim, or who they'll say God. So don't you find that weird that he says, I'm going to be the one that's going to repay according to sins, and then you sin right now, and they're like, well, you're out of here. You're not repenting to us, and then this and this and that. It's contradictory because ultimately that's between that person personally and between Elohim and of course the Messiah. But no, not with Jehovah's Witnesses. So let's keep going. What else they say? Like, look how they do all of these things to be noticed by the older men, the elders, the conductor of the theocratic ministry school, the Bethel visitor, right? Where they want to get the bow ties and get on the new suits and look all fresh, get the haircut now because you got a dude coming into your congregation. Oh, we just want to be show hospitality. No, you're kissing up and you're kissing butt to try to be seen by men, to be visible to men, and to get attention, to get elevated to certain privileges, to have this greater standing amongst these men in the congregation, so the sisters can look at you, or if you're a sister, so them brothers in the back with the good mustache, so he can look at you. But you know the reality. This ain't really for Elohim. This ain't for God. Let's read it. Right, in Matthew 6:1, what the Messiah say? Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward with your Father who is in the heavens. But what you do in the congregations, everything you're doing is to be seen by the men. They even got a school where they grade you. You did proper sense stressing, Billy, and I like the way that you really said that Jehovah did that. I was on a school. You're literally getting graded by men. You're being critiqued by men. You have to do your conduct so that these men can like it and give you another position. You have to wear your hair a certain way, this a certain way, this and that and that and that. Now, we know the scriptures got standards, but dang, you're not doing it for the scriptures because that's more of a personal thing. You know, a one-on-one experience, like a relationship. You're doing it to be seen by those men so you can hold mics. And you're washing toilets so that you can be seen. Look, I watched it. Did you see me do it? I got it spotless. That's what they're talking about. You're not doing it with the right reasons. You're doing it so that you can be promoted to prominent positions, so that you can get these titles. With these titles comes power within the organization, and then you can start to get all of this favor, invited to parties first. You can go out to eat all the time with these visitors, these speakers. You know, maybe you can go travel out to the Bethel facilities like I did. You're doing it for attention, to be seen by men. That's the whole point of the setup of Jehovah's Witnesses. They even tell you this, you know? Like, I just don't get nobody get this stuff, right? So it tells you again in this version, New Living Translation, watch out. See, watch out. Don't do your good deeds publicly. What we do, everything public. We got public witnessing. You got to do it publicly. I mean, how you going to reach people? One-on-one. You don't got to be standing out there on the street corners and trying to be seen by men. Oh my gosh, they do everything in violation of the scriptures, and then they try to justify it. But anybody else outside of them, they be like, that's how you know that they're not the truth and they don't have Jehovah. It's so funny. Let's keep going, guys. Let's keep going. The Watchtower, 1914, the generation that will never pass away. This article was published May 15th. What is that? I can't really see. Forgive me, y'all. Forgive me. I think that's 1964. And it's funny they'll publish this after the fact when they already went wrong. But I guess they want to stand by their lies. It's funny. But anywho, the premise, let's get on it. So they saying that 1914, that was the generation that would never pass away. Of course, you know, if you're alive right now, everybody from the generation is pretty much dead because they'll be over 100 years. If they're alive now, wow. And they'll really be mad if they was, because they still here. You know, and they was teaching that everybody's going to be taken into heaven. People started selling off all of their assets and going crazy like, oh, yes, Jehovah coming back. This is the year of return and all of this other stuff. But the reality was it was just another false date, right? To continue to stumble people into believing about when the end was really going to come. That's why they do these dates, so that you can stop taking it serious when it actually do come upon you. It's like when you keep crying wolf, right? People stop believing. So the wolf might be there, but I don't want to hear it now because you didn't lie 100 times about the wolf. And that's what they're doing, right? But let's read in Matthew what the Messiah said, 24:36. But concerning that day and hour, no one knows. Not even the angels of heaven know, nor the Son, but only the Father. So if Elohim is the only one that knows the date, the hour, the time, and all of this stuff, and even the Messiah who spoke these powerful words is telling you that he don't know, or the angels don't even know, right? Especially at this particular time. How can a dude, a mere mortal man, a human, through a religion be like, oh, he coming back 1914, this generation will not pass away. This is it, guys. We're going. This is the fulfillment of the time of the Gentiles, and we're about to be taken up to heaven. And then that date come in and nothing happened. So what they do? Well, at least we had wars and then it was some killing. And see, that was just a sign of the end of the time of the Gentiles and the kingdom was reborn invisibly, but you couldn't see it. Yeah, just like they said the day before that, the day before that, the day after that. They had way more dates in 1914. I advise you guys to look them up. And they kept being wrong. Then they finally got one they can milk it. So 1914, it was the best one to keep. Because even though it didn't happen, you still got some events that you're like, see, look, though, but we had a world war. But it still didn't fulfill what they was talking about. And you weren't even supposed to make a date. Do you know if the scriptures actually teach that if you speak something, under the premise of the word and in the name of the Elohim or the Messiah, and it doesn't come true, let that person be accursed. That is an apostate. That is the very definition. A straight up liar. You straight up gave a false prophecy, something prophetic, and it didn't happen. You'll be accursed for that. Oh no, not Jehovah's Witnesses. They'd be like, no. See, the light just got brighter. See, our understanding was a little dim, but it's getting brighter day by day. So when they lie, you get the premise. Let's keep going. So they create this empire of false witnesses, and I feel bad for those who actually believe that they're doing good. See, everybody in there not evil. They're not bad. It's the organization, the rulers over them that is breeding this machine, this mechanism of these unfruitful trees, right? Because they teaching them badly, and they teaching them lies and wrongs. And how they do it? Easy. They use isolated scriptures that benefit them. Then they glue that isolated scripture into the narrative of a Watchtower magazine. Where's the dude from the governing body over there in New York, or now Walk Hill and them other facilities, like the other two, can't even recall them all right now, right? But they glue it into a Watchtower magazine, and then they give you a whole paragraph to already sway your mind. And then they be like, see, and then they use that one scripture, and they be like, oh, I do say that. Yeah. When they know it don't say that if you read the whole book and you read the other prophets that go in harmony with the rest of the book. So they create a breeding grounds from false witnesses. But what happens to false witnesses, and who they remind the Elohim and the Messiah of? Proverbs 19:9, a false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will perish. Jehovah's Witnesses is literally bred out of lies. And they creating literal false witnesses because they supposed to be Jehovah's Witnesses. First of all, it ain't the name. I'm going to keep saying that. And then on top of that, you're talking about you're a witness. So you're a witness is giving testimony to what? Lies. Because everything about the organization is straight up lies. And it's so easy to prove. They just don't do it because they like the privileges, the attention from the elders, and the talks and the schools and the meetings. And it's ridiculous. John 8:44. Listen to this. You are of your father the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and has nothing to do with truth. The truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. So if an organization, which is a religion, aka Babylon, all religions are Babylon. I don't know where this notion comes from that it can be in true religion when none of them are true. That's another story. A lot of witnesses just dabble in different religions. Every time they get mad at one, goes to the next form of Babylon. I don't understand that logic either, right? Scriptures is not a religion. It's a historical book, but whole nother video. So when you lie, you're like the devil, the father of the lies. And if you are in the organization that's put forth by the devil, then you're going to become an agent, a testimony for the devil. Literally. That's why you jump in this religion. It's nothing but lies. Nothing but all apostate teachings and pagan customs. Although they say, hey, we're not pagans. We don't do Christmas. But then they do wedding rings. All right. So it's just something to think about. It connects you with Satan and through the eyes of the creator. So you have to get out of that. If you don't, then you're going to be party to this destruction of Babylon by being a false witness and a liar and speaking the same lies from the father of the lie. Get back on the shunning again. What's another scripture that's pretty good, right? Forgive me, y'all. I kind of edit some of the scriptures out, but they'll be spoken through the Messiah. All right, so I believe one of these will be in Matthew, but you can always just look up the keywords and to pull up. But blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. And this is what happened when you really learn about the Messiah for real, right? And you know about his truth. This what happened to you. People think you get all this love because all of them believe. That's not true. For starters, the Messiah in which they created is not the real Messiah, and that's not even his name. That's a translation through Western biblical scholars who are falsifying these names to connect them more so with a westernized viewpoint so that you can see them with a new version and a new concept. And they'll always say, oh, no, we had to translate it so you can understand it in your language. That's really a lie, because when it comes to names, those are not translated. They're transliterated, if you will. And you don't just flat out change your name completely and be like, that's him. Like my name Corey, it's always gonna be Corey. Might pronounce it differently in different tongues, but it's always gonna be Corey. They'll be like, nope, you're Corey in Africa, you're Billy over there in the United States, then your name is Sean over here, and then you got like 100 different names. You get what I'm saying? Names, not title, names. So it's just something to think about. They lie to you with that stuff, and it's easy to prove because you can even look up the alphabet. The Hebrew had a lot of letters we used right now, just didn't have a J. But do they use those letters to concoct these names the way that they actually were? No, they just flat out change them, and then people will be like, "See, you had to do it," which is so funny, right? But you are blessed when they insult you. You know, you're an apostate, whatever. You're going to hell. You're going to die. You don't believe in Jehovah. You know, they do all of that stuff because that's how they condition, and they righteous over much. They very judgmental. They think that they know it all. That's why they always say they got the truth. They believe that nothing could be wrong through these men. They see them as infallible, although these men, and they will say, no, we know they're imperfect. Yeah, that's why you think they never wrong when somebody bring out something that they're doing. Oh, you're finding fault. But do they not do the same with the churches to prove why they think they the truth? They're fakes. They're phonies. They're fraudulents. In another version, it says, hear the word of Elohim, you who tremble at his word, your brothers who hate you, who exclude, shunning, who exclude you on account of my name. He said, let the Elohim be glorified so that we may see your joy, but they will be put to shame. So they shaming you right now and shunning you and excluding you. You can't come here. You can't do this. Don't come to our halls. I'll call the police. You know, the same people that's through Satan's government, but they need them, huh? It's like they need them attorneys from Satan's government to defend their wicked ways. It's funny, huh? Don't be a part of Satan's world, but as soon as they get in trouble, they run into Satan's world themselves for that help. But yeah, so they're gonna hate you, exclude you, cut you off, persecute you, shun you, call you names, and speak abusively. You know, not sit by you if you try to come back while you shun, and make sure you go through this whole shaming period so that they can embarrass you and then say, oh, but it's a loving provision to get you right. Get out of here, man. They trying to make a spectacle out of you to show that they got complete power and dominion over your soul and over that of your family and your friends. And we fall for it. We standing and they're getting ignored like, hey, we're just being humble because, you know, he's disciplining me. Get out of here. That's not Elohim. That's them men. And they reward in full through your sufferings. But they're going to suffer and they're going to be brought to shame for that because you're not supposed to exclude, and shunning is not biblical. They completely contradicting those scriptures of Peter. But that's another video. I've covered that many times before if you haven't seen it. If you still believe in shunning, then so be it. Enjoy your shun party. Matthew 5:46. Let's get on shunning again. If you love those who love you, what reward would you get? Or not even a tax collector's doing that. When you shunning people because they have different viewpoints, different you know, ways in which they see things that are not in accord with the way this governing body is telling them. Most times they're actually justified in that because the governing body does zero things like the scriptures. They just cherry pick from it and pick whatever they can use to their advantage to exploit it for revenue and for more followers and fame for themselves. So you shun those and show them nothing but hate, but call it love and provision. And then you love those that love you, because if they in it and they got their good standing, giving them good talks, they getting invited everywhere. They going to the parties. They getting all this favor. But let them be like, I don't think them men telling the truth. Watch how quickly your best friend become your enemy. Watch how quickly that girl you like go snitch you out to the elders and you in that back room. Just watch. Try it. Be like, speak some of these truths. And they going to try to use their isolated scriptures like the churches do the same thing. And be like, no. See, so you're questioning Jehovah when they lose these arguments because they know they're going to lose them. And when they can't get you back as a good little boy or a good little girl, shun time. Shun time. Don't believe me? Go ahead and try it because they can never be wrong. They're like, no, it's not about that. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because if it wasn't, you'll agree with me. They won't. They will shun you. They will straight up cut you off and be like, well, you're not going to repent. This ain't got nothing to do with if you're going to repent or not. For starters, that has nothing to do with him. And that's personally between you, Elohim, and of course, the mediation of the Messiah. They got nothing to do with this public spectacle of men standing before you like the Father in the Catholic Church or in Christianity lies and all that stuff. That is a personal thing. All of a sudden, now you got to go to some dudes and they have to see that repentant attitude. What the heck? Repentance is a private matter. So I don't even get why they even involved with that. They don't know your heart. They can't read the hearts. So it's not really about that. They just that's the lie. It's really just about them having lordship over your soul. That's what it's about. But they're not getting no reward for that. They're only showing love to those that's gonna show love to them, which is by following the governing body and doing as they're told, like a good little sheeple. And if they start to think for themselves and step outside of that theocratic ministry box, oh no, you're an apostate. The devil got you. You're evil. You're gonna die. You better come back to the lifeboats. And that's why they're not gonna get no reward. Because the world do that. Everybody gonna love who love them and then hate their enemies. But the Messiah said, no, I tell you to love your enemies and to pray for those persecuting you. They ain't doing that for us. One time they even said, you can't even pray for somebody that's shunned. Somebody straight up told me that when I said I just pray for my friend, his fellowship when I was in it. No, you're not supposed to do that either. You can't even pray for them. I said, oh no, I gotta get out of here. The devil is here. The devil has checked into the meeting, y'all. Let's keep going. So these men, the governing body, the rulers of the entire infrastructure on a worldwide basis, the setup is very much Illuminati, considering that you have this new world order, so to speak. That's why you got a new world translation. You got a group of men, a small group of these powerful men, which are very much rich because they're milking the congregations dry, talking about we building kingdom halls and all this and that. They're building businesses to promote their doctrines, their get rich quick schemes, and you continue to bring your revenue to them. That's what it is, a business. That's why you're a publisher. That's why you put the hours on the time clock and the field service sheets. You're literally working a business under the name of a religion, but you don't see that. No, I'm not. I saw them built the Kingdom Hall in Africa. I was there. But you don't get the purpose of it. And you don't know how they get so much money off these properties, especially when they sell them off as real estate. But, hey, you don't do the research outside of it, so. But yeah, they're false prophets because they give false prophecies and they don't come true. They give you end of the world dates. They tell you what to do over your lives. They tell you don't get a blood transfusion, let your grandpa die. They do all of this stuff through liaison committees and governing body members and Bethelites. They do all this stuff to control your very life. They tell you how to date, how to get sexual, what to do, what to not. They go way beyond the personal boundaries, okay? It's ridiculous. They be asking personal sexual details in your private life with your wives and your husbands, and then they all up in your kids' business. Are you masturbating? How are you doing it? You're not supposed. Like, get out of here. It's creepy. But children's ask. So I know children asking. Oh, what do young people ask? Funny. They're false prophets. Matthew 24:11, and many false prophets will arise, right? And lead many astray. That's what they're doing. It's funny how they always use this to describe the churches, but they don't realize that they're bred from the same womb. Babylon, these are daughters of Babylon. Babylon has many daughters. The many daughters are the various denominations of religion. It don't matter where you go. They are all bred from the same. That's why they still gather on the sun. Day of the Sun, Sunday. That's why they still have their minimized books of 66 books, Satan's number, and also the churches once included about 80 plus books, including apocryphal. But that's beyond your heads because you don't do no research before recent times. They do exactly what the Catholic Church deems them to do because the Catholic Church is the mother of all the religions. Don't believe that? Just watch. When the Catholics do a custom, watch how quickly it trickles down to all these religions. But nobody want to see that. 2 Timothy 4:3, for the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions. And that's what Jehovah's Witnesses do. No different than Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, Muslims, the cults that's rising up on the streets, even the ones that's taking the truth about Hebrews and turned it into this hatred thing on the streets and speaking all these lies with the satanic star of Moloch. All of these, if it turned to a religious thing is what I'm saying. We're not doubting the scriptures. We're not doubting Elohim because the Bible is very much true. It's a history book. The people are very much real. They're a lineage. But when it comes toward this whole religious aspect of it, now that's where they lying about it. That's man-made. And the Bible actually disses religion all throughout the book, but nobody sees it because they read it with the narrative of, you got it, a religion. So you can't see the truth. You're blinded. You have the veil. But that's what they did. And the scriptures even tell you that. They're going to accumulate their own teachers, religions. And what they're going to do? Have their ears tickled. You know, they're going to want to hear what they want to hear. What gives them pleasure. What eases their itch, so to speak. So they're going to make up their own. Man, I don't want to hear that. I don't really care about that. So if he white, I'm going to go to this religion because he white. Like the Messiah, which he ain't. Or I want to do idol worship. So I'm going to go to this religion. So you're going to be a Christian. You can wear the crosses, the crucifixes, put them on your buildings, have a statue of Mary, all of that stuff. They find what they like they're shopping. And if it's something that's in the scripture that they don't like, just it's easy. Just find a religion that don't take that part serious. Tell me I'm lying, y'all. That's what we do. Like if you're a smoker and a religion allows smoking, but this one don't, you're gonna go to the one that don't. I mean, that allow it. Or if this one like you can be gay, do whatever you want, come as you are, really don't care, as long as you come to our church and put it in tithe, you can go to that one. You can go to the one that's telling you that you can't be homosexual, go to Sodom and Gomorrah, and how y'all don't support that. We accumulate what we want. So religion became the mall. I like those shoes, but I don't like those pants. And you know it's true. But we don't want to speak the truth. Let's keep going. Field service. And now this is the funniest one. This is the easiest to contradict. If you go to Matthew 6:1, be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Watch out. Do not do your good deeds publicly to be admired by others, for you will lose your reward from your Father in heaven. So what is field service? Basically, it's where you knock on doors, just like they do with those get rich quick schemes. You try to recruit new members to come into the organization so that they can likewise do the exact same thing. That way you continue to make the profits of the business grow. They can also help bring in more tithe money through the donation box, which they say is not compulsion, even though they got percentages per publisher every so months where they have deficits and goals and quotas they need to reach throughout the assemblies. But nobody catch these words because they just believe they drink the Kool-Aid. They believe the lie. But yeah, you're punching the clock, literally, for Jehovah. So you're knocking on doors, and you want to place them magazines, the Awaken and Watchtower articles, even some of the additional Truth Track companions, some books to go along with that, and try to get a study going with the Teach book, that God's Love book, and all of this other stuff. So you're there to promote the business, and it's not really about the scriptures, because you're trying to place the literature. Why? Because if you just read the scriptures, you can get the truth by reading that. You don't want that. That'll contradict you. So you give them a magazine that's going to cite certain scriptures so that it can create this biased narrative where they can read it through the eyes of the governing body. Because who you think published those magazines? Who you think picked those scriptures that they want to use to support whatever subject in those magazines? Who picked the theme, the picture, all of that? If you go to Bethel, you know how this stuff really works, okay? It's all a scam to get people brainwashed so that they can come into the fold, and then they can continue to spread the indoctrination to the next neighbor, the next neighbor, the next neighbor, under the premise of this is the truth and we're saving souls before the end of the world. It's the perfect scam. So what happened? When people believe they're going to give all their money, they're going to be giving all their money, their deeds, their wheels, the title of their car, and all of that, like they did when 1914 came. And when these men get richer and richer in secrecy, but then act like they live in humble. But you catch Tony buying all these bottles of liquor and he's caught on video. And you catch all the properties that they selling and getting the money. And then you catch their statements that's getting leaked out. And their connections with Lockheed Martin, companies that make cigarettes, and their connections with Boeing. They make warplanes, but then they tell you don't do this job because it's going to hurt your conscience. People don't study this stuff. They just be like, I'm saved, I'm in the truth. Christians be like, I'm saved, and ain't even come yet. How you past tense saved? And then they be like, I'm in the truth. How you in the truth when it's full of lies? Like, religion is so funny to me, and people don't understand the difference between religion and the scriptures. They think they're essentially the same thing. That's the blinded person, the non-research person. But yeah, field service is definitely to be seen by men, to be visible by men, to get graded by men, to show my hours, my specific times, how many times I went back for that return visit. You're doing all this to get graded by the elders, and then when the elders see that you're doing good and you reaching your quota, your amount of hours for that month as a regular publisher, auxiliary publisher, a baptized publisher or non-baptized publisher, the pioneer, all of that stuff, they're going to grade you. And if you did the good, then you're going to get elevated to positions and prominence, and you're going to get favor, and people are going to look at you a little differently. Then they're going to start giving you more and more favor and parts and talks and all of that, privileges, because you're seen by men. You're visible to the men, and they like what you're doing. They got nothing to do with the Elohim and his Messiah. You're doing it like you do at a job. You do good, they promote you. You do bad, they demote you, or they fire you. That's what it is, right? And you're doing it to be seen by them. I hope the men looking so I can get that part. I hope they give me that baptized date. You're doing it for men. You're doing it for men. You're not supposed to do that. You don't do stuff publicly to be seen and noticed by them. Then they be announcing, we put in 7 million hours this year. Who cares? Y'all see it? The Messiah see it. Why you gotta announce it? Because you're trying to be showy and flashy amongst men. This ain't because you're trying to build up the faith in the preaching work. Preaching work ain't no spectacle that you parade around like a parade. Look what I did. Look what I did. Look at my hours. Look at my time. I did more than Billy did. I deserve that position. It's fake, it's phony, it's fraudulent, and it's not scripturally supported. The Messiah was not going around counting the clock when he got out that village, when he went house to house. He wasn't doing it like that. Hey, I got 5 hours. Let me write it down. Did you see that, Father? Look at that, 5 hours. Now he placed 2 sandals with that brother over there in the tent. Get out of here. They was not the apostle Paul, so they was doing that. No. Witnesses being there counting the clock. Okay, I was there for like 2 hours. I'm gonna go ahead and add the extra 30 minutes in there because I was kind of sitting there still. So I'm gonna put that on there. Let me go to Quick Trip, give me a quick sandwich. Let me get back in service. They doing it to be visible to men and to get privileges and favor. And they count everything, y'all. They count everything. And if you don't turn it in, watch out, boy, they elder gonna hassle you, knocking on your door, your windows. Let's just move on. But it's a business and it's fraudulent. You're not even supposed to do this stuff publicly like that. And if you did, it was supposed to be in a more private type of manner, not no public spectacle for attention. Let's keep going. My favorite one, right? I want to make this too long. Are you anointed? This one is so funny because the scripture actually tells you in regards to the 144,000. For starters, let's put it out there. To be part of 144,000 is not just some random thing for anybody. It's only given to the lineages of those from the children of Yasharel, who you now call Israelites. The original term was Yasharelites, right? Now, how do we know this? Scriptures actually tells you. In Revelation, you can read and it'll tell you that they come from the 12 tribes of Israel. Yes, they're from lineages, and it tells you which one in which each 12,000 comes forth from. Hence the 12,000 times the this and that, like 12, 144,000. So you get the math, it's basic math, right? Then you get the premise. They're from the children of Israel. But if you believe they've been rejected as a people, which we're going to touch next, you can't grasp this because you're already indoctrinated. But it actually tells you they come from the 12 tribes of Israel. So their lineages according to bloodlines, and they're related to the prophets and the apostles and the lineage in which the Messiah, which is the root of David and came through the tribe of Judah, proceeded forth from. This is a lineage thing, a birthright thing, and it's all according to a bloodline. Has not the Messiah even was under strict heir as to which he will proceed forth through that couldn't be tampered with, which even spared King David's life when he committed his sin with Bathsheba. Like, nobody get this stuff. The whole thing is about bloodlines. They're all related. And not related off, oh, we all come from Adam and Eve. So, no. It's funny because it makes it clear in Genesis. Everybody come forth from Abraham ain't included as the children of Israel. It's through a specific, strict bloodline. And Elohim actually made that clear. It was the ones that entered into the covenant with him. The blood covenant, which created this particular bloodline and his birthright. So it was not extended to the rest of the nations, and he made that clear with the divisions of Noah's sons. But nobody want to hear that because it's just this random draft, like a football game. Hey, I pick you. I pick you. It's a bloodline for a particular race and a particular tribe, and that's the children of Israel. All right? And then everybody talking about they going to heaven, and it's funny because all of the gates are only made for the 12 tribes. It's even set up in 12s and 12s and 7s and all of these spiritual numbers. Everybody don't go to heaven. They can't benefit in the new earth, but under the rulership of Israel. So it's funny that it says that. Look at Revelation 7:4. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed. 144,000 from where? All the tribes of Israel. How does that work if it's not literal? It's some spiritual tribes. Are you spiritually Gad or Manasseh? Are you spiritually from the tribe of Simeon? That don't even make sense. That's stupid. It's not even logical. You wouldn't even say tribes if it was no longer about the tribes. But it is. And there's way more scriptures than this. Revelation continues to stress the entirety of these events, even the plagues. They are all because of the wrongs that was done to the children of Israel, especially the ones that remain faithful. Let's just keep going. But everybody can't be 144,000. You got people walking around that's not even part of these bloodlines talking about I'm anointed and he chose me. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Because he tells you how you get the requirements. Right? Now, in regards to the knowing, that's another story. But you at least know that it has to be from these bloodlines. That's what we do know. So they're lying on the whole 144,000 thing. They turned that to a public party where anybody could become a Jehovah's Witness, and immediately you can jump right into that wagon. You know, if you doing all of the stuff they say. We'll jump more on that in a minute. Wedding rings. It's funny how they say you can't do birthdays, Christmas, all that, which I agree. Those are pagan. But what about wedding rings? Are those not pagan? Let's read. It's right. You can't show it in the Bible because it's not supported. Now let's look up on the Wikipedia to say the ancient Pagan Romans were probably responsible for the beginning of the use of engagements and wedding rings. They wore the ring on the third finger on the left hand because they believed that a vein from that finger runs directly into the heart. So what are y'all wearing right now? I bet you got it on that ring finger, which is the same one that they talking about. And they had a whole mystical meaning in regards to that. But you're doing it. Oh, it's because of love and God. Get out of here. Even in Revelation, it says, no longer would a bride and groom be hurting you anymore in regards to Babylon. That's how you know it's religion and it's all these churches. Because how y'all getting married? The same way the pagan Romans did. The same all these organizations and empires did that was considered Babylon. You take their customs and then you throw it into your new way of evangelizing. All of a sudden it ain't pagan no more. But then you want to point out other stuff that's pagan, but then you do something that's pagan. Wedding rings are pagan. They didn't do this in biblical times at all. Right? Slaves couldn't even do it anyway. They had to jump brooms. Rings are pagan. If you know how to get those diamonds and the way that they are making those in African lands and these lands over there on the other side in this extreme heat, they work out there slaving in these fields and digging holes and so forth just to find these diamonds, and then you send it to these rich Western countries, and then they make all these billions of dollars in profits and sales off of it, through slavery and overworking of people. But hey, you got that beautiful rock on your finger to be flashy, so your girl can love you based upon the means of what you can provide, and give her this big old wedding with a white dress. That's pagan. The cake, that's pagan. Right? The toast, that's pagan. So why wouldn't the rings be? But hey, it's okay now. Because you want to fit in with those customs. Jehovah's Witnesses is the biggest liars I've ever seen. They just as bad as Christianity is. And Catholicism, which all of them are essentially related. Even Jehovah's Witnesses consider themselves Christians. And they don't realize that Christians came from Catholicism through the Council of Nicaea and with Constantine, who is the progenitor of Christianity. But nobody want to touch the origins because you involved and you touchy. What about how they keep showing the Messiah to look? This white dude with this white hair, but then they say race don't matter, but they keep showing you white this, white that, white angels. If they ever show God, instead of just showing the lights and the radiation of colors, they'll show him white too. Then Messiah white. Gabriel the angel was white in one of the articles. Mary white. They all white. So when you be like, why they all white? Don't worry about the color of the skin, because we'll just call it Middle Eastern. And that's funny, because the Middle Easterns wasn't white either, especially the original indigenous. If you rationalize them based upon how people look now, you are definitely missing history, because you don't even know about the rape, the colonizations, the way that the indigenous was breeded out by means of the white European males hopping on to the indigenous black women, creating this entirely new third race in every country, like they did with the natives, like they did in Brazil, like they did in all these lands. They was breeding people out and creating a new third race, which was according to their lineage and bloodline by their white chromosomes from the fathers passing down to the males. Nobody know history or genetics. They just be like, nope, they're white now, and that's how they always was. Or it's called the Middle East now, so it must have always been called that, when it wasn't. It was Northeast Africa. So this is my favorite because it's so easy to contradict this one. The Messiah is not white. He's not white skin. He's not Middle Eastern white. He's not tannish white. None of that. He's straight up black. Black. And the reason why you don't know that is because racism dominates all of these religions. That's why together, the common thing that they all can agree on is that we're going to make him white, like they did with making Earth a globe, right? But y'all don't want to see this because y'all, people indoctrinated. They don't want to hear the truth. They think you're just a conspiracy theorist. But he's black and it's easy to prove. Let's read on. Now, in this description that Daniel saw in heaven, this one is talking about the Most High, Elohim, whose name is Yah, right? Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahweh. Not no Jehovah or no J. Wasn't even a J in Hebrew, nor can the J be derived from a Hebrew name, unless you westernize it and turn it into an entirely different thing from a white narrative. But hey, let's read. As I looked, thrones were set in place in the Ancient of Days. The one y'all call God. That's Elohim. And he took his seat. What was his clothing like? His clothing was white as snow. Look at y'all. Y'all got happy for a minute. I was talking about his face. That's his clothes. So they got that part right. What about his hair of his head? White like wool. They got that right. Although I doubt his hair woolly because he looked Caucasian. So that's Daniel 7:9. So when they say hair like wool, that's black hair. Wool is kinky hair, like sheep, like a sheep's hide. It's nappy. It's kinky. That's black hair. If y'all don't know what wool is by now, I don't know what more to say to you. His body was like chrysolite. I'm sure y'all don't know what that is. His face, arms, and legs, what it look like? Burnished bronze. So he's brown. And when they say burnished, it's talking about a dark brown. Like as if it's being burnt, like in a fire. So according to the prophet Daniel, who saw Yah by means of a vision, the Ancient of Days, because he's the most ancient and you can't find the amount of days in which he existed because he has no beginning, no end. So with that being said, he's looking into heaven through a vision and he sees into the heavenly realms and he sees the Ancient of Days, Elohim, who y'all call God, sitting right there on the throne. And he said he's brown. He's a burnt brown, a burnished brown, and he got nappy hair like wool, sheep's hide, kinky. Google wool, guys, and tell me, does that equate to fine hair? Fine, straight, silky, white hair? It does not. So it's funny, they say race don't matter. Says the girl with Jesus that's white on the wall. Race don't matter, says the guy holding the magazine with a white Jesus. Okay, that's interesting. That's the excuse. Because it only don't matter when he black. But when he white, obviously it matters. He's everywhere white. Even his mama Mary somehow white now. Wasn't even her name. Joseph. Wasn't no J's. Okay. So the Most High is black. What about beards? Leviticus 19:27. You shall not round off the hair on your temples or more the edges of your beard. Jehovah's Witnesses just say cut the whole thing off. You can have a beard. And they got zero scriptures to support it. So they'll just make it like it's about conduct, which is what they invented on how you should look. They're not going off the scriptural look. Because if they did, you would know that all the prophets had beards. Very big beards at that. Really big, big beards. The Messiah had a beard. Moses, who was really Moshe, he had a beard. John had a beard, which is really Johannes. So it's funny how beards was the common standard. And all of a sudden, as a witness, you got to wear these heterosexual looking suits and cut your whole beard off and look like a baby. What fantasy they trying to feed into to these men? Because they look a little suspect. But Leviticus 21:5. They shall not make bald patches on their heads, nor shave off the edges of the beards, nor make any cuts on their body. So tats out the question, we know that. But it's in regards to the beard, y'all didn't know that, did you? You're not even supposed to cut the beard. The only times where they was cutting it was through times of lamentation, where they was grieving, where they cut off their hair and cut off their beards and they're mourn. And that was done as a means of a lamentation, to lament, to cry, like in times of a little depression. But hey, they just say cut them off because you want like a hippie. Oh, this is my favorite one. I read this whole article when I was a witness. Rejected as a nation. They said that because the Israelites continued to fail Yah, he broke his promise to Abraham, which when he told him that through your seed will be the promised seed, and they will bless all nations of the earth that cleaves to them, and their seed will be without number, and I will give them dominion over the whole earth, and they will benefit. They will be the ones that I give the covenant to forever. And he says an everlasting covenant. It can never be broken. There's so many scriptures about this covenant being everlasting. It just can't be broken. It's ridiculous. But you wouldn't know that because witnesses don't read those. They only read the wrongs of what the majority of them was doing. They don't tell you that all of them didn't rebel. They don't tell you that all of them did not reject the Messiah. They don't tell you that even the specific number was reserved amongst the evil, because there was some good ones that was reserved. They don't tell you none of that. They just focus you on the bad ones and then tell you that scripture where the Messiah said your house has been abandoned. Your house could be abandoned because you got put out, you got scattered, you got sent through slave trade, through colonization and so forth because of your disobedience as a majority. But he never said I rejected them as a nation. Y'all don't know that, huh? When I asked the Apostle Paul, because the article was convincing until you start really reading the scriptures. Romans 11. Nope, let's take it back. Let's read Romans 11:1. I asked then, let's just get it plain as day. Did God reject his people? By no means. See that? Did he reject his people? By no means. And it's way after the fact of all the things they're named. How we know? Paul continues, I am an Israelite myself, a descendant of Abraham from the tribe of Benjamin. Let's read that again in case you didn't catch it. Did God, who's really Elohim, reject his people? By no means. I am an Israelite myself, the descendant of Abraham from the tribe of Benjamin. So according to the Apostle Paul, who wrote majority of the books in the scriptures, he made it very clear. He didn't reject his people. I'm an Israelite. The very one y'all talking to right now to get the information from. The one that wrote all of the scriptures in the books that was pinned down by their Elohim, Yah. We are all from a bloodline of Yasharel, which is Israelites. So it's funny how you think he rejected his people, but then you read the book that was written completely by his people. even after the supposed rejection. It's funny, ain't it? Even Revelation's written by an Israelite. But okay, let's read more. Romans 11:2. God did not reject his people whom he foreknew, so he also knew they was going to fall. Wow. But he rejected them, huh? Paul heard them, y'all. He heard a lot of the stuff they say. God did not reject his people whom he foreknew. Don't you know what the scripture says in the passage about Elias? How he appealed to Elohim against Yasharel, which is Israel. What did he say? As an answer to him. Let's jump to 11:4. Read the whole book. I admire you to read the whole book. And what was Elohim's answer to him? I have reserved for myself 7,000 who have not bowed the knee to Baal. And then later it'll say, so likewise, there's also a remnant that is also chosen by grace, mercy, things that are undeserved. Hence why he gives undeserved kindness, mercy, grace. He does the same even with the Gentiles. Why would he not do the same with his own people? Did they not obtain what they seeketh? The elect among them obtained it. The rest of them was hardened. And I'm directly quoting from the book because I know the entirety of this by heart. Because I know lies when I see it from these religions. No, he did not reject his chosen people. Hence why you also saw again that the remnant of the 144,000, they only stem forth from Israel. That's why they're from the 12 tribes of Israel, each according to a specific tribe out of the 12. All the 12 are not the people you think they are. So what's another good one? Religions love to teach you that, the laws are done away with. They're over. They're done. And it's funny because if you actually read the 10 Commandments, you tell me I can murder now? Because if you say they done away with, they're over. So let's read through it. So I should worship other gods. Right? So I should make a carved image of something and start worshiping that as an idol since it's done away with. I should start murdering people. I should start stealing, I should start committing adultery because it's done away with. See how stupid it sounds when you actually read what the laws are? Why would they be done away with? You can't even do this stuff in most countries legally, but you saying they done away with scripturally when Elohim says it? So I shouldn't love? I shouldn't be faithful? I should start coveting now? I should forget about the Shabbat, the Sabbath day, which is on Saturday, not Sunday, the day of the vulnerable son, instituted by the Catholic Church. Interesting. So let's read what the Messiah said, and I get the version that says it the best, because a lot of them like to dilly-dally with words, so you can't understand what stuff means. So let's read. In the Amplified Bible, Matthew chapter 5, verse 17, listen to the Messiah talk. Do not think that I came to do away with or undo the law of Moshe, which is Moses now, or the writings of the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. So if he's telling you I didn't come to do away with it, but I come to fulfill, and then you reason as a witness, fulfill means to do away with it. It's over. Do you get how stupid that sound? Do not think I came to do away with it, but I came to do away with it. You know how stupid that sound? You see how they got you again? He said I did not come to do away with the law. I didn't come to do away with it or destroy it. I came to fulfill it. So he's giving you something that's opposing to that idea. So how you going to take something that's the exact same as that idea and say that's what he was saying? Which is, I didn't come to destroy it, I came to destroy it. It sounds stupid, don't it? That's why I like this version. It puts it plain as day. He didn't come to destroy the laws. He came to give them their full meaning. That's what fulfill means. It means to give it its full meaning. It don't mean to destroy it, to mean that it's over, or none of that. It means you now have the complete set. You can now express it in its entirety, its full meaning. He made it relevant. He even added of new commandments, which is really the old one, to love. He never did away with no laws. He was actually following them. And it even keeps saying, do the commandments. It even tells you in Revelation, in regards to the chosen that are part of the 144,000, these are the ones that does the commandments of Elohim and not defile themselves with spiritual adultery and so forth of Babylon. So it's funny how the commandments is stressed from Genesis all the way into the book of Revelation, Hazan, but somehow suddenly these laws are done away with. And it's funny because did you know that the same premise is what got the Israelites scattered into the four corners of the earth and sent into a slave trade and so forth? It was them perceiving that the laws was done away with. They stopped doing them. So what happened? Elohim got so angry and upset with them that he had them eventually scattered and amongst the heathen nations where they would be until he regathered them. And they also don't teach you that they get regathered at the end in the fulfillment of the days of the Gentiles. They don't teach you that either because, they say he rejected them as a nation, which we already proved was not even scripturally supported. at all. They don't read these whole books. They just cite certain scriptures and try to contradict themselves, or contradict the narrative with their own reasonings. They don't read the whole book like most of us have. So no, he didn't come to destroy no laws. That sounds so stupid. Come on now. Like you gonna start murdering now. How you gonna be done with something that you know you still can't do, even legally, with the governments? Get out of here, guys. No, the laws. The laws are forever, everlasting. They're established, and that's why the Israelites got in trouble, because they stopped doing the laws. Once they stopped doing the laws, they lost favor of Elohim. And that's what the nations and the religions always wanted them to do, so they can rise up and get power, which is what they have now, because of the downfall of the Israelites. But now they're awakening, knowing who they are, and the fulfillments are upon us. And you have to do more research to understand the true essence of the scriptures. And by doing so, it's going to undo all of this stuff that they're doing. That's the only thing that's getting undone is their system, not the laws of the Most High, and not the Messiah, and not the children of Israel. They was never rejected, nor was the laws ever done away with. So now, seeing that even the scriptures contradict everything that they're saying, why do you still believe them? Oh, because you want to be part of 144,000 so bad, you're willing to just believe the lies, even though it's not scripturally supported. And if you know who these tribes were, you really get what I'm talking about. And I'm going to give it as plain as day. They are not white people, okay? And they are not this new name of Middle Eastern. You have to know what they originally was. It was Northeastern Africa. And these lands are black lands. And the original indigenous to these lands were black also. We're going to touch all of this. All of this. Let's keep going really quick. Look at the Watchtower's description of the Messiah. Look at this. A white dude with some short hair with a mustache. Look at that silky, fine hair. That's funny, considering that even the Most High and the prophet Dan, you saw him in the vision, Ancient of Days, he got hair like wool. Wool is black people hair. That's kinky, nappy, rough type hair. That's sheep hair, hair like that of a sheep's hide, a sheep's covering. That's fro-like, dread-like. That's nappy hair. How do we not know what wool is in 2021? Are you serious, guys? And then it's talking about he's burnt, like burnt bronze. What is brown? Come on now. And burnt? Do we not know what burnt mean? Burn some barbecue, burn some coal, burn anything in life, and tell me what color it looked like. It looked blackish. So it's a burnt bronze. Let's read Hebrews 13:8. And I don't say Jesus Christ because it's not his name. Yahusha, right? Or Yahushua, right? Which is Yahusha Hamashiach, is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Revelation 1:14 and 15. His head and his hairs were white like wool, just like his father. Right? As white as snow. And his eyes were as a flame of fire, depicting an anger. And his feet was likened unto what? Fine brass, right? Brass. That's bronze. As if they burn in the furnace. That's a very dark bronze. And his voice was as the sounds of many waters. So there you have with the comparisons. They're comparing him to something that is burnt bronze, like a dark brown. Very dark at that. Like a blackish brown. That's why it's burnt. And then they saying that his garments was white as snow, not his skin, and his hairs were white like wool. Do you catch what wool is? They're black. Yes, they lied to you, talking about angels don't have descriptions and images. We know that they can manifest in various forms. We know that they're not human and bodily like we are, but they do have forms. They have arms. They have hands. That's why they got on garments and clothes. That's why they have a head. That's why they have hair. They just not human. Now you understand why he said in Genesis, let us make man in our image, when Yah was talking to Yahushua, who you now call Jesus and God, these pagan words, right? He says make man in our image. We know what an image is, because they even tell us in the laws, you can't make images and worship them. What is an image? Something that is appearing to look like something that exists in the heavenly realms or on the earth below or in the seas and the skies and so forth. It's actually against the commandments to make such images, which all the religions do anyway. And they worship them, right? Images to worship. Understand what that means. So you know what the image is. Take a photo of somebody. What is that? An image of the person. Now all of a sudden when Yah says in the Messiah, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, to look like them. They even made them from the brown dirt to even prove the point into a second degree. They're brown. They're black. A blackish brown. They're the same thing. Black people are not really black. They're brown. I don't know why we call them black. Like white people are really not white. They're more of a pinkish hue. Right? Well, nobody in the scriptures Caucasoid until way after the fact. And then the Caucasoids was created through the Caucasus Mountains with the Neanderthal gene. And you can even learn this in school. You can learn this in a college seminar. And people don't even know this stuff because they think everybody was white according to their own white privileges, according to their lies. But everybody know this stuff. How can white be around when all the indigenous to every land was black? The natives was black. The original Brazilians was black. The Australians, the Aboriginals was black. We know that Africa is completely black. That's one thing that we still know because they still black today, and they wasn't bred out completely. Right? So the Israelites was black. We know that the original Egyptians was black. It's seen all on the pyramids. It's seen on all the descriptions on the walls. We know that the Ethiopians black. We know that the Jamaicans black. Everybody. But now everybody in most of these lands now are white. And nobody asks yourself, how is that so when they didn't look like that at first? Well, it's because of the climate and people just started to transform their skin when they moved into a cold part. So I go to Antarctica, I'm going to turn white. Are you going to Africa, you going to turn black as a white person? Or are you just going to burn from the sun, from the lack of melanin? Like we come up with so many excuses because racism dominates religions, and I'm not racist. I love all people, but the reality is none of these people was Caucasoid that was writing the scriptures. Some of the characters were, and that was way after the fact. Like the Romans was white. The ones that killed the Messiah, the Romans, they was very much white because this was prior to the Caucasus. Don't believe me? Really look up science. Look up the Neanderthal gene and the Neanderthal DNA and how this mutation is only prevalent in the whites and in the Asians. That's why you got the term Caucasian, the Caucasoids with the Asians. And they both mix with a species of the Neanderthal and another version of one of these hybrid humans, so to speak, which were really the seed of the fallen angels. Hence the DNA deterioration, which was the same thing that was prevalent in the book of Genesis when they came down here the first time amongst the daughters of man. And even their forefathers was originally black when they mixed with the seed of the Nephilim and the Neanderthals. The mutation caused the pigmentation to completely deteriorate. And we can prove this easily. Let's keep going again. I'll make this video too long. Well, we're going to get there. I don't want to go too far ahead, but just keep up with me, y'all. So the talks and privileges, Matthew 6:5. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites. How they do it? They pray standing in synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others, like this man right here. Truly, I say to you, they're having a reward in full. Look at him. He's like, oh, I'm so rewarded. Jehovah, Jehovah. Look at my talks and privileges coming. I'm going to wipe some toilets. Stop it. You ain't supposed to do that. But hey, you can't tell nobody nothing, right? Stand witnessing. That's funny. 1 second. And it's funny too because like sometimes the most racist organizations, religions, and even people, they best excuse to prove they ain't racist is I'm not racist. God's not partial. So see, I'm not racist. That don't mean you ain't racist because you quoting that one scripture, but then everything in your life proved that you actually don't believe that. That's why you got white Jesus on your wall, on your magazines, you got on the crucifix and all of that stuff. You got Mary statues that's white, everybody white apparently, right? And then they teach that black people to curse. And this is so funny because it's actually the opposite in the scriptures. And we're going to show you all of that. And look at the Witnesses Racist History. Talking about, oh, look, see, we ain't racist. We got black people on the magazines sometimes. Yeah, only as servants that's doing the preaching work. You never have them as anything biblical. And you know that's true. You never will see them as nothing biblical in the scriptures, historically speaking. But you will see them when they doing their preaching work because they doing what they were told. No different than happened in slavery times where they showed the house Negroes. Look in the Watchtower, right? And you'll notice this on page 702 on the Golden Age, July 24th, 1929 article, the Watchtower. Look at this one. And I'm gonna tear this one up, y'all. Is there anything in the Bible that reveals the origin of the Negro? Answer. Listen to this racist lie that spread through Catholicism and through Christianity, which eventually trickled down to the newly formed Christian religion of Jehovah's Witnesses through Charles Taze Russell and Rutherford. Listen to this. It is generally believed that the curse which Noah pronounced upon Canaan was the origin of the black race. Certain it was that when Noah said, "Cursed be Canaan, the servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren," he pictured the future of the colored race. See that? They have been and are a race of servants. But now in the dawn of the 20th century, we are all coming to see this matter of service, and it is true light, and to find that the only real joy in life is in serving others, not bossing them. There is no servant in the world as good as a good colored servant, a good old boy, right? A good old nigger is what they really trying to say, a good old Negro, right? And the joy that he gets from rendering faithful service to one of the purest joys is one of the purest joys in the world. So there you have it, racist history, and let's see if this really proven true. Do blacks really come from Ham, like the Negroes? Meeting time. So if you jump into one of the most accurate Bible dictionaries out there, one of the ones that is very accurate, and it was actually written by them. This is the funny part. And all the churches already know this stuff. But if you get the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, right, and you go into the origins of the Hamites, you can actually read right there in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. I actually have one in my room. And it tells you the origins of these biblical figures, right? From scholars, biblical scholars. And it's funny, most of which are white. The youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races. Look what they put and highlighted. Not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. And they get that from the basis of Genesis 10, 6, and 20, which actually tells you that. So the Negroes don't come from Ham, according to the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. Also, you can find more information in regards to this word ruddy, where they talk about fair mean white. No, it don't. Fair means a lighter dark in opposition to the darker of the darks, because there's various different shades within the black race. You don't have various shades in white people. They're all just white. And think about it. Ruddy. What is ruddy? Ruddy is reddish. What is reddish? A reddish brown. Let's read. A word used to refer to a red or fair complexion in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. So he's talking about the Hebrews. He's saying there are just the lighter brown ones in opposition to the darker brown ones, which we see all the time. I might be a little lighter than somebody else, but it's still all Hebrews. So yeah, Zondervan Bible Dictionary hurts a lot of the stuff that they teach you now, and you can see how the changes was happening due to racism. So that's what ruddy means. It's like a reddish brown, right? When the sun hits it, it shines with this reddish glow, like that of a red-nosed pit, a redwood sequoia tree, a red heifer cow. They're all brown, but they shine with this reddish hue when it's hit by the sun. And it's a little lighter than that of the average brown. That's what ruddy means, and red means. Adam, which is Adam, right? To Adam and Eve. His name means red. King David was a fiery redhead. They was black. They just was that more finer type, right? Even Esau, this reddish, right? Reddish bronze, a lighter bronze, not white. And if you also look up the studies of from Babylon to Timbuktu, it actually tells you this as well. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. So these wasn't your regular Africans. They fled there. They migrated there due to the pillaging of their lands in Yasserel, which is northeastern Africa. It's where Israel is. It's not no Middle East. And they ran a canal through there to try to make it a split off type of portion. You have to do your research prior to the Atlantic slave trade. So all of these blacks that fled there, they mixed in, so to speak, not mixed, but like that was blended in with the regular population of the Hamites. Those were Negroes, and they didn't come from Ham. They came from Sham. And everybody that does their studies can easily see this. But racism caused them to believe that it's those people claiming to be Jews now, which Revelation 2:9 actually tells you who they are. The Revelation 3:9 tells you the real ones. Gonna get them subject to their feet, thanks to Elohim when he returned, and Yahushua HaMashiach. So all this stuff is out there, but nobody want to read it. And let's get on white skin again to let you know it wasn't common, especially in biblical times where they was all black. I mean, come on now. Moshe, which is Moses, he married an Ethiopian. Ethiopians are black too. They're from Hamites though. But what about his sister Miriam, right? If you look in Numbers chapter 12, verse 10, it tells you when she got in trouble for speaking against the Ethiopian, trying to be a little racist, right? What happened to her? He didn't even mention the Ethiopian woman that he was married to. But Miriam did get in trouble for speaking against Moses, who was put in place to be in power. That's who Elohim, Yah, was using. So by doing so and concocting this plan to bring people against Moses, who was slow of speech, and Miriam was always elevating her opinion over her brothers, and her and Zipporah actually didn't get along because of that fact, trying to get prominence over Moses. And Miriam got in trouble. And what happened when she got in trouble? Let's see what leprosy really is. And behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. See that? Her skin became leprous. What is leprous? White as snow. They're talking about just boils and all these lies. That's not true. Leprous was really vitiligo. Her skin turned white. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. There you have it again. Don't believe me? Let's read it again. And the cloud departed from the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, who is Moshe, Alas, my Elohim, I beseech thee, lay not thy sins upon us. We have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he have come out of his womb. Like when you come out, you like that pigmentation, but you grow it eventually over and over again. When I was a child, you look into the ears, we be like, that's how you know what color the baby gonna be. Remember all of that? So it's what he's talking about. She lost her pigmentation. She was demelanized and she became white as snow, a leprous. That's what it was. And she had to separate from the camp into 7 days when she had her melanin back restored to her, and the camp proceeded forward after that. Right. But that was to serve as a warning, of course, to not speak against those in which Yah put in place of the Israelites. And of course, to not be trying to throw out racist terminologies, because he didn't even care about Zipporah being Ethiopian. But he did care that Miriam was speaking against his anointed one. See what I'm talking about? So if she was white, how you going to turn her white? Think about it. What about Moses with the miracle he did? All right. To prove he was black. Exodus 4:6-7. And Elohim said furthermore unto him, put now thy hand into thy bosom. One of the miracles to prove that he was really sent by Elohim, in case people doubted him, in regards to him going up to the Pharaoh and freeing the people, the first captivity in which they went in through a slavery, which was in Egypt, Mizraim. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. Look again when it's talking about leprosy. Snow. What is color snow? White. White as snow. See that? And his hand was leprous as snow. So Yah turned his hand white to show that as a miracle. So he was black. And when he saw his hand turn white, they were shocked. Now, if he was white, you turn his hand white. What's that as a miracle? Sounds stupid, don't it? Right? See, people don't want to see the truth because the racism dominates their ideology when they read these scriptures. They don't want to read this. And then he said, put thy hand back into thy bosom again. And he put him in his bosom and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. See how it says other flesh? Because when you demelanize it, you get to the white meat, the white skin. But when you put the melanin back, you get back to his original other flesh, which he originally had. Melanin, right? Which is dark black skin, the original sunscreen, which is like a Yah-given particle of how man originally always had before the mutation and the tampering of the bloodlines through the Caucasus Mountains and with the Nephilim and with the Neanderthal gene, the mutation. It's also responsible for COVID-19 if you look at the studies on that. So you see that in Miriam, white as snow, leprous, snow, white skin, not like his other flesh. Let's go once again, back to Ancient of Days again. As I looked, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was white as snow. The hairs of his head was white like wool. That's nappy hair. His body was like chrysolite. His face, arms, and legs looked burnished bronze. Black. Messiah again. His head and his hair is white like wool, nappy hair. Eyes like a flame of fire, and his feet likeness to fine brass, as if it's burned in the furnace. Dark. Brown. Yet again. Same hair like his father, same skin like his father, same garment like his father. And of course, they both will breed forth the same people through Yasharel, Israelites. Black people with the same type of hair who was made in the same image from the brown dirt of the ground. Come on now, this is elementary, y'all. So you can keep seeing these scriptures and it's telling you this is plain as day. So what they do, made up this new type of leprosy. It's just bumps in skin and then this and that. Boy, they're talking about the skin disease. There was various different forms. They even talks about hair. And if you had fine, straight hair, you actually was receiving what was called the plague. That's even written in the Levitical laws. So how can that be the original standard? And they was white with fine hair when each was part of the plague that was upon someone due to a mutation of being leprous, or something that was contrary to the natural standard. But nobody want to hear this. And if you speak the truth, they say you racist for saying the truth when you're not. But then the ones that are racist are doing it out of racism and hatred. And how can a black person be racist when through our gene pool, we make albinos, which is white skin. We make black, which is the darker of us. We make caramel. We make mocha. We make every color spectrum. We make every color eyes, all of that stuff. How can somebody make all the colors be racist, but then somebody who only make one color who actually could be racist can't be racist? The logic we reason with is incredible, y'all. So if you look in all of these scriptures, it keeps telling you that white skin originates with leprosy. And then when it became more permanent, we already know that was through the Caucasus Mountains with the mutation from the fallen angels' offspring. And we know that they were still around after the flood because the land of Canaan was full of giants in which the Israelites said we are like grasshoppers. We also know there was a giant of David and Goliath, which was after the flood, because the mutations never stopped. They just started over again. Everybody knows this. Even the book of Enoch, confirms it. More books that's rejected because religion only likes Satan 6:6 that was deemed worthy, why he took the rest out. Like the original King James, 1611, had about 80 plus books, including the Apocrypha. Now, 6-6 like the rest. It's like the New World Translation, 6-6, New World Order. It's funny, right? And you know about Naaman, where he said the leprosy upon the people that was near him when he got his melanin back. He said the leprosy of Naaman will cling to you and your seed forever. So they was stuck white. Don't believe me? Look at it. Look in 2 Kings and read chapter 5, verse 27. And read that on. So, white skin, Middle Eastern, that's funny. And let's end this by looking at the original people of the Middle East. And let's see if that even got some credibility. Since they say, fine, he ain't white, he Middle Eastern. Let's look at the original people from the Middle East. The original indigenous people of the Middle East, even they was black. So that's funny when they say, well, fine, he Middle Eastern. Still don't help because they still black. No matter how you play around with words, still black. So I just find that interesting that people do no research, no studying, but then they walk around like they know everything. Racism dominates religions, and everything about Jehovah's Witnesses is wrong. Leave religion. And it's not even just them. Christianity is the same thing. Catholicism, Muslim teachings, all of them wrong. Because it's not about religion. It's about history, and it's about a chosen lineage and a kingdom that it will soon rule. If you want to learn more, stay humble. Don't be racist. Don't mean be evil. Express hatred. Love is the key. But don't whitewash somebody's history and say it's not important or it don't matter. It does matter. Because it affected the entirety of what's now. Much love, y'all. Do y'all study and y'all research. Shalom.